Is the Philippines still a great retirement destination? I'm going to talk about my 10 years here. Three trips and 10 years living primarily in Cebu City in the central area, central Visayas area of the Philippines. I've lived in six different condominiums, different parts of the city, and I've traveled around to various islands in these 10 years. Anyway, I've got on my channel, Amazing Philippines, I've got over 1,600 videos, cost of living, a lot of condo, real estate type videos, travel videos, health and dental information, immigration information, news information. If you have not subscribed yet, I think 60% of the people who view my videos are subscribed. That leaves about 40% who are not. Subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, comments always help with the algorithms. Appreciate that. There are ways to support the channel over in the under the video left hand. There's a join. I take deeper dives into a number of different issues: real estate, crime, safety, medical, dental, other things. Over on the right hand side underneath the video, there's a thanks, a heart to support the channel. First comment on most of the videos, there's a buy me a coffee and a PayPal account if you wish to do that type of thing. Always appreciate that. Anyway, let's get into the details. The Philippines is a relatively small country. It's actually about the same size as land area as Arizona, state of Arizona in the USA, above Nevada. Italy is a little bit larger, but it has a huge population. Whereas Arizona in the USA has about 7 million people in the same land area, the Philippines has about 115 million versus 7 million. A lot of people here. I think Manila is rated as one of the most densely populated cities in the world, and you can still find open spaces. There's over 7,000 islands, but don't let that scare you. I've had people say, "Oh, I wouldn't know where to start." You're really only going to be concerned about the 11 biggest islands, and really probably only two or three different islands. So yeah, don't let that scare you away. You've got the large Luzon Island in the north. You've got the large Mindanao Island in the south, and the Visayas, the central areas. You got Palawan, um, and like Cebu is very popular. Cebu City is a big tourist destination. You've got a number of large cities, and then you've got medium-sized cities. You've got small cities, and then towns, provinces, more country-type areas. Lots of options. Beautiful, beautiful beaches. You've got mountains, you've got caves, you've got waterfalls. There's just so much to do here. The cost of living is relatively inexpensive, although with the inflation over the years, living in a place like Cebu City, it has become more expensive, especially if you're going to buy. You're allowed to buy condominiums here. You can buy a house, but you can't own the land. Just similar in Thailand, you cannot own land, but you can buy a condominium. Vietnam, I think even Vietnamese cannot own land. They have to rent the land from the government, I believe. But you can own condominiums here, but there's also many options. Rental. Cost of living is a major factor for many of the people who want to retire someplace overseas. I'm going to cover many different topics here: cost of living, dating, English, the language, visa systems, freedom, safety, the culture, the food. Lots of different topics in this video. But first of all, cost of living. For the first couple of years, pretty much, and I kept very good track of my expenses, and I was dating occasionally, but not heavily involved in that. and a little bit of travel, and I was eating mostly at home, but I was getting by for most months under 1,000 US dollars per month, 850, 950, something like that. And my expenses have gone up over the years for a number of different reasons. I'm now renting a little bit larger space. I'm instead of paying 300, I'm paying closer to 500, 550 with utilities and everything, US dollars. And there are many options with cost of living. You can still find a small studio, condominium, or apartment for relatively inexpensive, 300. You can still find those out here. You get away from the malls. Of course, location means a lot. And if you want to be close to the mall, uh, generally going to cost a little more. Just depends upon what your budget is, what your requirements are, and I definitely tell people you know be careful with your money initially. There are so many needs here, and you want to help the world sometimes, but understand what your limitations are, what your budget is, and keep track of that and stay within them. And here in a big city like Cebu City, you have the option to rent more luxurious type places. So you can go as high as you want, but most of us are living on some type of pension, Social Security, government pension, company pension, whatever. And we can live comfortably here, but at the same time, you need to stay in control of your money, know what your budget is. The Philippines has an easy tourist visa system. In fact, most countries, not all, but most countries, you can actually have a visa on arrival. You fly here and have a visa on arrival. They give you 30 days, they stamp your passport, and you should have at least 6 months still uh, available on your passport when you come here. And you should fill out, I think within 72 hours of arriving, you need to fill out what they call e-travel. It's a form online. They used to hand out paper slips on the airline that you'd fill out for customs and all that type of thing. Health declaration. Now you do it online. Very easy to come in here, get 30 days, and then you can extend that. Go to any immigration office and you can extend 1 month or 2 months at a time. They used to allow you 6 months to extend it 6 months, and you can stay in the Philippines on a tourist visa pretty much 3 years, 36 months, and then you have to leave for a day, and then you can come back and start over again. Now they're getting a little more. There are retirement visas, there's marriage visas, there are work visas, there are a number of other visas, including that you can get involved with too. I suggest you use a visa agency like JRC, Visa Consultancy, Immigration Services. He has an office in Manila. His main office is across from Ayala Mall in Cebu City, and he's got an office in Dumaguete. And yeah, first couple of years I did everything myself, but now I just hand it off to them and let them take care of that type of thing. Much easier. Retirement and spousal visas have come with their own advantages, and if you're past military, if you have retired or been discharged honorably, they've got a real special retirement type visa for you, and those start they're going to lower the age to 40 years old if you've got a pension of at least, I think, 800, something like that, dollars a month. But very special, easy requirements for ex-military type people. The culture, dating, and English. Let's talk about those. The culture, English is the second official language here. Virtually all of your legal documents are in English. Most signs are in English. Most people speak or understand English. Some are not comfortable speaking English, but they usually understand it. And you will find certain people, in fact, you'll find families where a couple of people are very good at English, and the rest of the family they can understand it, but they not real comfortable conversing in it. Um, so that is an advantage. Um, Dating, um, part of the culture here is that big differences in age are accepted pretty much. They're tolerated and or accepted here. And even I've met Filipino men, older Filipino men, who are dating younger Filipino girls. And it's very common here to see a Westerner or a Korean or Japanese with retired dating a much younger 20s and 30s year old, and many of them even eventually get married. So that is very unique to this culture. I think Thailand has a little bit of that as well, but yeah, very very common here in the Philippines. The Filipinos are very welcoming culture, very tolerant, but at the same time, saving face is a big thing here, and as it is in many Asian cultures, confrontation is looked down upon, especially if you do it in public. You don't want to confront people. Smile and try to have a discussion if you're having an issue with something. But yeah, if you confront somebody, get angry with them, especially if it's a government agency, and you don't have any recourse, the chances are, yeah, it's just going to get worse for you instead of better. Safety and freedom. Safety. It's about 8:30, going on 9 o'clock here as I'm walking, and this is fairly well lit street here, but there's oftentimes I take a little bit darker street, and I feel safe almost any place I walk in the Philippines. Now, obviously, there's some places that you should be aware of. There are, especially southwest Mindanao, where there are conflicts with Islamic terrorism, and NPA are which is the armed wing of the Communist Party. They are on a few islands still, a lot less than 10 years ago, and they've been bringing many more of them back into the societal fold, if you will, and they're usually up in the hinterlands, up in where there's very little, probably no internet, very little news and that type of thing, and they go in with their propaganda and try to convince people that the government isn't helping you in any way. Join our movement, the communist movement. But so just be aware. Ask the locals if you're going to be traveling up into mountains, but uh, 90% of the places are absolutely safe. In fact, I've had Filipinos watch out for me in different areas, and in most cases, pickpockets would be your biggest issue. And if you're in a crowded area, if you're in a fiesta, a lot of people around, just be aware. Don't wear expensive jewelry. Keep your valuables uh, out of sight and secure. I feel a sense of freedom here also, a very refreshing sense of freedom. The U.S. has so many laws, and not only that, so many enforcers, and that can be good or bad, and sometimes it's like just too much enforcement of very strict rules sometimes. And here they have rules, but there isn't the strict enforcement that you might find in many countries. And some people like that very strict, orderly, forced orderliness. Um, Philippines could probably use a little bit more of that, but for instance, you'll see people riding in the back of a pickup, and that's been outlawed in the USA, without seat belts for decades. I think everybody needs a seat belt. Laws trying to protect everybody from everything, type thing, and yeah, just that sense of freedom. You can go where you want, and you watch the traffic. It's crazy. Lane lines are not much more than a suggestion, and a lot of these people, I don't know what percent. Some of them don't have licenses, have never taken any driving education courses, and yeah, it gets a little crazy, but a little bit chaotic at times. And I've had people comment, yeah, I love the chaos in the Philippines. The chaos in the Philippines, then I go back to my organized country, for a few months. Travel and weather. Travel, for the most part, is pretty inexpensive. There are a couple places, high demand places like Siargao Island, I think. Flights going in there can get rather expensive for some odd reason. But pretty much, for the most part, travel is inexpensive. You can go by ferry, of course, with so many islands. There are ferries. You can rent a taxi for a day, about 8 hours, to go north or south to different resorts. And I've been usually quoted 3,500 pesos, which is about 62 US dollars for the day. So, if you want to go cheaper than that, there are buses and jeepneys that you can take. They're what they call V-hire, vans for hire, and you can rent one for the day with a driver, or you can get in a van with so many other people that are making a trip someplace, scheduled trip. And boy, they pack them in though. Warning, they pack them in. They're pretty tight. And as far as the weather, your a tropical climate. I like to compare it to Florida and Georgia in the summertime. Except Florida and Georgia are often hotter and more humid than it is in much of the Philippines most of the year. And we've got a number of different climate types here in the Philippines. I've done other videos about that. But the temperature doesn't vary too much throughout the year. You go up, if you want cooler temperatures, you go up in elevation. You go up in a mountain, and there are some mountain communities that are pretty popular up above Dumaguete. On Negros Island, you've got Valencia. It's becoming more and more popular to get up there, and you probably don't have to use air conditioner very often. A number of other areas around the Philippines, you get up in elevation, a little bit cooler. But yeah, it's I've lived in the desert in Phoenix, Arizona, in Las Vegas, Nevada, and experienced other deserts, and it's much hotter in those deserts, but it's less humid. And I thought the humidity would take me a while to get used to it, but pretty much after 6 months, I was used to it. I adapted. There are some months that are, we've got our drier seasons, we have our wetter seasons. We're in our rainy season right now, and like this afternoon, it's raining. Late afternoon, it'll rain, but usually only rains like 20, 30, 40 minutes or so, and then it's done, and life goes on. There is a typhoon season as well. You call them hurricanes back in the USA. But there's the typhoons. I've done videos about that as well. They often happen more in the middle of the year and less in the November, December, January, February, March. And those are the high seasons, tourist seasons as well, around Christmas season, give or take several months on either side. And they usually affect more the outer eastern islands as well as going north. They usually turn north. Occasionally they come across the islands as well, but not very often. Not very often. And the culture here, is more of people here do things as families and groups. Sunday is often a family day for many people, and you'll see them out out at beaches, at the malls, just out doing things. In fact, so many times I've gone into a restaurant by myself, and the first thing I hear is, "Sir, are you alone? Why are you alone?" Well, I'm hungry. You've got a restaurant. Thought I'd come in and eat. It's also primarily, I think, over 80% of the people are Catholic. But you've got many other types of, you've got the Baptists and the Church of Christ and different types. I think most of the Islam is down in the southwest part of Mindanao, and I think that's about 5, 6, 7, 8% of the population. But yeah, they're scattered throughout the Philippines as well. The food part of the culture, very interesting, and especially if you like seafood. There's so much of it with so much seas around here and islands. There's just so much variety as far as seafood. You can find beef if you're on the smaller islands. Beef will be harder to find. I know. I think it was Comody's Island many years ago. Went over there to visit somebody, and the guy told me they process a beef once early Sunday morning. So if you're not there early Sunday morning, you aren't going to get any beef. And they will take a ferry over to Cebu and stock up on the things they can't find on their smaller islands once a month, something like that. A lot of the Filipino food, I have not. I've experienced a certain amount of Filipino food, and lechon is big, which is pork. Um, some of it's very, very fatty. I don't like fat in particular, but meat, good beef meat. It's different, like any culture. Even if you move around the different states in the U.S., you get different types of foods, and they have different ways of cooking some of the same food. Lots of lots of stray dogs. This one in particular didn't seem to be fearful, but what I've found over the years, and I like animals, but a lot of these animals, street animals, they're not aggressive, but they're not friendly, and they'll walk right by you. They won't pay attention to you, but if you reach out and try to pet them, they'll back away and bark at you and growl at you. If you have food, don't try to hand it to them because they might take your hand along with that food. Same with cats, and the hospitals. One of the biggest things that they treat here are animal bites, and dog and cat bites. Of course, you've got snakes in different parts of the city. You've got mosquitoes and different diseases that they can spread. But I've lived in 6 different condominiums in Cebu City, and rarely that I see mosquitoes in and around my condominiums. I don't know if they spray or what the deal is, but you can get into certain areas, poor areas, uh, areas where there's often sitting water. You'll get more mosquitoes and flies. So, in summary, my opinion is that yes, it is still a great place to retire. You've got the English language, which is great. I see a lot of Koreans come here to learn English, but rarely do I hear them speaking English. Although I did have a conversation, I met a Korean guy when I was walking the other day, and we had a little discussion in English. But yeah, I mean it's multicultural. You've got Asians from many different countries. You've got Europeans from many different countries. You've got people from various parts of Africa and India and yeah, Europe, Canada, and Australia, New Zealand, and all over the U.S. as well. So you can, if you want to get involved with expat groups, there are more and more expats living here long term, and they can offer you up some good advice. They've been here, they've experienced some of the things. They might help direct you to uh, housing deals, better housing deals, better restaurants, coffee shops.
Hello.
The cost of living is manageable and within the budget of most people on a
Where you
pension. You
going?
just have to, yeah, people in the pickup up there, they saw my camera, they started waving, smiling. Filipinos always see the camera.
Spa del Sur Body
Anyway, yeah, just so much to offer here. And I know I occasionally get bad comments. Why would anybody go to the Philippines? They've been here probably. They've had a bad experience with a girl, with some kind of a scam, with something, and they're just they just have a bad taste in their mouth. They've had a bad experience.
That's right.
But so much of life is what you make it. Your attitude, and if you come here with the right attitude and try to adapt a little bit anyway, great place to retire. Anyway, thanks for coming along. Look forward to your comments, and we'll see you in the next video.